Welcome, for those of you who just beat that torrential downpour. And thank you to those who braved it.
And notice it's stopped now that they're in here.
Yeah, now that they're in, it's all good. Well, you know, but they say if you don't like the weather, wait about 20 minutes, it'll be different. That's in a lot of areas, not just ours. So welcome everybody, to this beautiful morning. Gotta remember, you can't have rainbows without a little bit of rain. So we'll hold space for that as well. All right. And let's see. So, as you know, these mornings don't come together magically. We have a team of wonderful people that help make these things happen, beginning with our wonderful musicians, Sally and Jamie. Yay! Our Sunday surprise is we're going back to basics with Reverend Michael Gott, the 5 Foundational Unity Principles, Part 1. He's one of the reverends at Unity of Houston. He was the guy with that magnificent voice that we saw previously. He's a reverend, and he'll be doing the talking. He explains the first 2 Unity principles and shares some of his stories of his childhood and how he discovered Unity. And he ends it with a beautiful song that he wrote. But I'm telling you, have the Kleenex handy because, oh, it's beautiful. So, with that, I don't see any new faces today, but we'll just go ahead and we'll carry on. Let's have a little more. We'll have our hearts on.
Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. With thanksgiving, will be a living sanctuary for you. Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you.
All righty. Thank you. That's one of my favorite songs. I love that song.
Yeah, me too.
I love that song. All right. Well, for those who may be watching us for the first time online, we give out new hearts, or hearts to new people, and we have a red heart welcome. New hearts, that'd be a whole other line of business. No, I'm not qualified. Okay, but if you're new today at Unity of Bremerton, we welcome you in the spirit of love. We want you to know no matter where you are on your journey of faith, you are always welcomed here. We know that the world is a better place when we are willing to share our hearts. We give you this heart as a symbol of the steadfast spirit that lives within each of us, and we ask you to carry this symbol as a member of this Red Heart Fellowship. Let it be a reminder that the love of God is always with you, and to share your heart wherever you go. The red heart, as a symbol of fellowship in the world, can spread love one heart at a time. Let's start the movement here. And those who happen to be visiting or watching for the first time, please check in regularly. We have all kinds of different stuff going on from one week to the next, and you just never know what we might be up to. Alrighty, so speaking of what we're up to, Unity happenings in your bulletin. We've got some updates in there. Next Sunday, November 4th, we've got Reverend Joanna Gabriel back with our musician Michael Gregory. Yay! November 11th, Doug Beneke with Sally Spirit. November 17th is our craft fair and bazaar fundraiser. And November 18th, we have George Lindemoon with Sally and Jamie. And on that same day, following service, we're going to do our Thanks for Giving potluck during the day instead of the evening thing, which we've done the last couple of years. So we're going to do it during the day, potluck following services. We'll have a sign-up sheet out there soon in the fellowship area. And maybe the rain has kept, I'm just going to go with the board member of the week announcement too, because I think Ann might have gotten caught in the rain, and that's okay. So, couple of different things we wanted to announce. I'll read that announcement first, and then I'll give you an update on our annual meeting last week. But we want to remind everybody we are live streaming the service, so please keep conversation down. It does pick up everything, especially during our more quiet times of the paper burning and candle lighting. Also want to remind everyone that prayer request forms are available in the back pockets, and you can put them up here or in the offertory bag as it goes around. Unity of North Kitsap has a weekly meditation, and I think this is like the third week in a row they've been doing this drumming circle. And so with Walter Mahler, prayer and meditation around one large community drum. So they invite everybody to attend. You don't need to bring anything with you. And they're at the Fellowship Hall at Faith Episcopal in Poulsbo. And we have our craft fair on Saturday, November 17th. For those of you who have signed up to participate in that, weekends are flying by, so we're getting closer and closer. We do have the sign-up sheet still out there. We're going to have one more craft meeting next Sunday following service to just kind of get an idea, solidify who's really going to be there, what you're going to do, what you're going to bring. Just keep in mind, this is not a yard sale or garage sale, so we're not looking to,
Unload your closet.
yeah. So, bring the higher quality, nicer items, not, the stuff that you'd be given to Goodwill. And if you do bring stuff that you're wanting to sell on your own, you need to take it home with you. We're not going to be taking it on your behalf to, somebody else. So be prepared to do that. But we'll meet next Sunday after service to kind of go over everything. And I've got a couple of outside vendors that are going to be coming in, or at least I think they've said they're interested in maybe coming in, and they've got until the November 10th to finalize those plans. So we could have some really neat stuff going on. So stay tuned. And as always, check at the fellowship area for sign-up sheets. And if you want to stay updated, be sure to sign up for the email newsletter. You can do that online or on the sign-up sheet in the fellowship area. And like I mentioned earlier, we will have a sign-up sheet for the Thanks for Giving event. We'll probably have that out by next Sunday. So think about what you might want to bring for the potluck. And as always, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please see a board member. And then I wanted to update you. We had a really good turnout for last week's meeting. And so thank you for everyone who was able to attend and voted and participated. For those of you who are unable to attend, the congregation voted to accept our landlord's offer of letting us out of the lease. So I sent out a survey to those with email addresses to get some feedback on priorities. The board is going to do its very best to accommodate, as much as we can, as best we can. So that's out. I'm getting really good feedback. We're getting good information, and the board is going to review all of that at our next meeting, which is in 2 weeks. And then we'll be able to share, more and keep you guys updated as this progresses. I did send an email out to our landlord, because the board did officially approve, with the support of the congregation, that we are going to graciously accept the offer of getting out of our lease early, and we will be out of this space by December 31st. So the landlord did confirm back, and I made sure I looked over the lease and checked all of the different requirements and whatnot, what had been done in the past. So they did confirm that they accept the terms. We need to leave the space clean. Carpets clean, kitchen clean, everything clean. We don't have to repaint, which is nice, because I told her that would help expedite the process. And financially, we will not be penalized in any way by accepting this offer. So we're good. We're good. And so now, keep that space. And as we move forward, we're going to, I emailed Reverend Joanna, about all this. She's kind of one of my real mentors, helping me support you. And she says that, doors and windows are open right now, and the best impossible outcome will happen. Everything's in divine order, like Carmel says, doo-doo. So yes, we're counting on that doo-doo to make it a beautiful thing. So we're working on it. We'll keep you posted. Things are in the works. And I'm excited. I think it's going to be a really a good thing in a lot of ways. And I know that, so right after the meeting, Laura Simmons was voted in as a board member, and Jamie stepped up as a board member, so we do have our full 7. And so on the back of your bulletin is the listing of the board of directors and the roles. I tried to see if anybody wanted to be president, but
I know, right?
they're like, ah. So, with that, I'm still president, you're still stuck with me. Oh my goodness.
Oh, my.
Oh, anybody want to sing Rock Lobster? I love it, that's fabulous. So I'm still president, that was real good timing, thank you. Nora is our vice president. Laura is taking over the secretary slot. And Mary Ellen is still our beloved treasurer. And Debbie Lee and Jamie McAllister are our trustees. And Ann is our alternate. So we have a nice full board, ready to,
6, not 7, 6.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Including the alternate. She's counting
Yeah, counting the alternate is 7, yeah. So yeah, we're all good, and we're ready to do good work for everybody and on everybody's behalf. And this new term, we know, will be a time of great challenge and opportunities await us, and we'll face them and accept them as one. I know some people fear change, so I want to share with you what Myrtle Fillmore said about fear and about change. Myrtle Fillmore said this about fear. Sometimes we fear that we have not the ability to do a thing that we ought to do. We fear that there are obstacles in the way. If there are obstacles, we have made them. God never put anything in the way of our progress. When we get rid of our fears, we find out that the way is clear for us to go the Lord's way. And this is what Myrtle Fillmore says about change. It is much more important to change and to do that which is really best for our progress and our health than it is to be smugly consistent or to make the excuse that we have always done thus, and so it is too late to change now. The moment we discover anything undesirable in our minds or our lives, we should seek to make the changes necessary to bring about that which is desirable. So I'm hoping that inspires you. It inspired me.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Jamie. All righty. So, with that, we will light the Christ candle. This candle represents the divine light within each of us. And let's read our mission statement together.
We are a welcoming community, supporting our mutual quest for spiritual truth.
And our invocation and statement of faith.
There is one presence and one power, active in the universe and in my life, God the good, omnipotence.
All right, one of our favorite parts, handshakes and hugs. Squeeze gently, watch out for the lobster, and we'll be back soon.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Or maybe it's a split. I'm not sure.
I was driving to church and I got to do something else. Really?
Right?
Rachel heard just from here to here. Oh my God, here. Good.
I wear a once a year. I'm trying to get to that. I want to hug, but we should get a better swim into it. Yes. So if you see it, oh, it's buttermilk on the outside and butternut on the inside.
Okay, I'm going to give you a chance to open your hymn books to number 42.
You'll have to tell me.
I'm not going to start until everyone sits down. Opens the hymn book.
Hello, huggy, huggy.
This is my Father's world. moment. I am grateful for the gifts within each moment. Every moment exudes infinite possibility, and I am grateful for the gifts each moment offers in my life today. Still, it's not always easy to remember the power of possibilities that lie within every moment as distractions claim my attention. Retreating from the external by turning within, I center my awareness in God and my divine identity. I anchor myself in the now moment, appreciative of its power and open to its gifts. It is by tuning into this moment that I feel the light and love of infinite spirit. Acknowledging that the source of all I need is within and all around me, I relax into the peace of each powerful moment. I joyfully affirm, I am grateful for the gifts within each moment. From 2 Corinthians 6, verse 2, see, now is the acceptable time. See, now is the day of salvation. Today I am grateful for the gifts within each moment. And may I add too that we can just remember that we can really choose to be in the constant now, the moment of now. God bless us. Okay, and the handbook, number 127. We just need you to be a little bit aware of the wonderful hymns that are in this book. Gives us love, gives us love and joy and peace, gives us love, gives us love, gives us love and joy and peace. God gives us love, gives us love and joy and peace, gives us love, gives us love, gives us love and joy and peace. One more time. God gives us love, gives us love and joy and peace, gives us love, gives us love, gives us love and joy and peace.
This is an old Elton John song. I mean, old. Well, for Elton John. If anybody ever saw the movie Friends, it was kind of a independent film way back when. I hope the day will be a light highway. Friends are found on every road. Did you ever think of any better way? Listen, didn't know to go. Making friends for the world to see. Let the people know you gotta what you need. With a friend at hand, you will see the light. If your friends are there, everything's alright. Seems to me a crime that we should age. These fragile times should never slip us by. The time we never can is shall erase. Friends together, watch their childhood fly. Making friends for the world to you got what you need. With a friend at hand, you will see the light. If your friends are there, then everything's alright. Making friends for the world to see. Let the people know that you got what you need. With a friend at hand, you will see the light. If your friends are there, and everything's alright.
All right, and so today we're going to watch Reverend Michael Gott from Unity of Houston, taking us back to the basics with the Unity Principles, Part 1.
A lot of love in this room. I like it. The ministers are usually the last ones to sit down. We just like to get to everybody. So I'm starting a two-part series today on the 5 basic principles. I'm calling it Back to Basics. I think after all of the celebrating and I like the extra specialness of the holidays, but I want to get back to like the basics. You know, that's really what I want to do. I've had enough sugar for about another year. How about you? So, and all this is lovely, but I'm ready for it to kind of go away now. It's time for us to get back to what makes our lives work. What makes our lives meaningful, how we can be of greater service in the world. And I think that our 5 basic principles are a great way to do that. Before we get started, there's a funny story happened. I want to share it with you. I was talking to one of our members, and she was telling me about a situation in her family that her husband's sister came to stay with her and their family because she was going through some crisis in her own family and just needed to kind of get away and put it back together in a good way. And as she was coming to Houston to be with her, my friend and her family, her mother, my friend's mother-in-law, told her, said, well, just don't let them take you to that Love Everybody church. And I laughed. I was like, wow, that's dangerous, that Love Everybody stuff. Yeah, that's a warning. But I understand it. I do. That the family that I grew up in, they're a little suspicious of us too, because we do honor all paths to God. We do honor all religions, and I was really kind of raised in there's only one way, and it's our way, right? And so we have a different approach in unity. And there's an idea I think was expressed in that "Don't go to that Love Everybody church" is that we're like whatever feels good, just do that. That's not what it's about. There are deep philosophical underpinnings to our Love Everybody approach. And I want to share that with you today. The 5 principles are just a distillation of our teaching. They were actually created by Charles Fillmore's great-granddaughter, Connie Fillmore, who is a Unity minister. She was a classmate of Howard's. And she did this in 1990. It was actually when it got published. She had kind of distilled them. There's definitely nothing new in the 5 principles. This is actually ancient wisdom. Michael Beckwith created that phrase, ancient wisdom, new thought. It's a wonderful way of thinking about this. This is just a particular way that we practice these timeless principles. Here is one rendition of the 5 principles. The first principle: there is only one presence and one power, active as the universe and as my life, God the good. The second principle: our essence is of God. Therefore we are inherently good. The God essence, called the Christ, was fully expressed in Jesus. The third principle: we are co-creators with God, creating reality through thoughts held in mind. Number 4, through prayer and meditation, we align our heart and mind with God. Denials and affirmations are tools we use. And the 5th and final principle is this: through thoughts, words, and actions, we live the truth we know. So the way I'm breaking this down for you is today we're going to be talking about the first 2 principles. God is, we are. This is the deepest foundational, actually the first principle is really all you need to know. that God is. That is all that God is, all there is. And that's where we really begin. It's an understanding of oneness. That if we can live these first two principles, the philosophical understanding of who we're about, and then next week we'll go into the practical, how we begin to apply the principles in our life to transform our lives, to begin to live a life of success and freedom and joy and love. Amen? That's what we're about. All right, thanks for joining us for this journey. Ellen Davenport is a friend of mine. She is a Unity minister at Unity of Wimberley in the Hill Country. Before that, she was at Unity of Dallas. She has a wonderful book called The 5 Principles, A Practical Guide to Spirituality by Ellen Davenport. And this is what she says in the opening words of her first chapter. If I had one wish for the world, it would be that every adult re-examine his or her view of God at least once per decade. God may not change, but people do. And we outgrow our old concepts. The idea that about God that we held at 6 will not serve us at 16, and certainly not at 60. Just as children may outgrow peanut butter and opt for spicy curries, we can assimilate more and different ideas about the universe and its workings as we evolve. Instead of changing their thinking, however, too many people simply throw away their belief in a higher power, and with it, the divine guidance, wisdom, and comfort that could enrich their lives. God is infinite. All the spiritual traditions, all the religions agree on this. God is infinite, and yet we are finite. And so our understanding of God, we're never going to know everything there is to know about it. We're never going to be able to embody all the truth that God is. And so all of the faith traditions, all of the religions seek to capture some essence of God that we can handle and work with. And as we grow, we may outgrow the concept that we grew up with. My God was a lot like Santa Claus. How about you? You know, keeping a list of who's naughty and nice. If you do it right, you might get something. We pray, we beseech a distant God to give us something we don't have, and we'll be real good, God, if you will. This is the concept that I grew up with, and I outgrew it. And as Ellen says so beautifully, so many of us, when we outgrow the concept of the God that we're given as a child, we think we've outgrown God. No, it's just our concept. And so what we're about in Unity is giving you a God big enough that you can forever evolve as long as you're here, continue to find more of what Spirit is in your life and apply it. So I talked about us being the Love Everybody Church. I wish. I don't think we're quite there yet. I think that is actually... that's a high goal in life, is to love everybody, to, as I believe Jesus, who was that presence of love embodied in humanity, who upon being crucified is reported to have said, forgive them, they don't know what they do. I'm not there yet. People criticize me about who I voted for, and I gotta get all upset. I'm just kidding. Not gonna talk. We're talking about politics. Everybody just relax. The first principle is God is. It is the nature of reality. Here's another reading of this principle. God is the source and creator of all. There is no other enduring power. God is good and present everywhere. Psalm 139, verse 7 and 8 says, where can I go from your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? If I go up to the heavens, you are there. If I make my bed in the depths, you are there. God is everywhere present. Sounds good. What does that mean? How do we understand it? So as I mentioned, we're going to kind of go into the philosophy underlying our beliefs and our principles. And so I'm going to go briefly into a little bit of a college course with you, so I hope you all are ready for it. We're going to talk about the worldviews. There are 3 major worldviews that cover all religions, all science, all philosophy, all teachings. It's just a way of looking at reality. A worldview is just simply a way to do exactly that. Answer the question, what is reality? So briefly, I'll go through these. The first reality, or the first worldview that we've talked about, is called materialism. It is the predominant view in the Western world, and what it says is this. Reality is the atoms the molecules, the subatomic particles, the quarks, that's all there is. There is no spiritual reality. Physical reality is it. The hard question in philosophy, as it's called, the hard question is this: how do consciousness and matter interrelate? Materialism would say that consciousness is an epiphenomenon of physical reality. Big word, what it means, accident. Just consciousness accidentally happened after so many billions of years of the atoms and quarks bumping against each other. Consciousness occurred. But there is no spiritual reality. There is no God. It's just something that we made up. You were in church, so you probably know that is not our worldview here in Unity. But it is the worldview of agnosticism, atheism, science, Western culture has become very, very much about the physical reality is the ultimate reality. The second worldview I'd like to talk about is called dualism. Now what it says is there are actually two realities. There is a spiritual reality and a physical reality. The spiritual reality is ideal and perfect. The physical reality is fallen, less than perfect. Came from the spiritual reality, created physical reality, but it's fallen. So using that word, that was a little hint. You probably know where that comes in. Western religion views reality through this dual lens. So it says there is a spiritual reality, there is an earthly reality. Islam, Christianity, and Judaism. This is the predominant worldview in those religious systems. Let's see. Let's move on. The third worldview is called idealism. And this does not mean like someone being idealistic or having ideals. What it says is that the spiritual reality is the only reality. And the physical reality is an illusion. It's not real. There's a Sanskrit word for this that's called Maya. That means everything here, all this is illusion. This is found predominantly in Eastern religion, but not only there. The Course in Miracles is a pure idealism worldview. It says that everything here is illusion. Which do you think we are in Unity? Well, it's a trick question, because there is a subset of one of those worldviews that kind of describes who we are. It's called it's emanation idealism. What it says is this: spiritual reality is cause and ultimate. Physical reality is real, but it is an effect from spiritual reality. It emanates from spiritual reality. And that is what New Thought teaches. You see, the New Thought tradition began in America in the 1890s, 1880s, 1890s. And we are Christian in our culture and in our observances. I believe if you're having Christmas Eve services and Easter, you're Christian, at least on some level. But in our worldview, we're actually more Eastern. We don't believe that God ever separated His presence, His love from reality. That physical reality is still imbued with spiritual substance. And that the phrase cause and effect becomes really important as we understand Unity teaching, particularly next week when we talk about the law of mind action and prayer and meditation. That physical reality is an effect from a mental or a spiritual cause. This is what we teach in Unity. That everything here in the world of form, in time and space, is of God, but it is temporary. Science says that energy cannot be created or destroyed, it only changes form. And that's what happens in the world of physical reality. Ernest Holmes is the founder of Science of Mind. He says that the physical universe is the necessary and logical outcome of spiritual reality. It's the body of God. And so, God is everywhere present, including in the cells and the atoms that make up your body. Just look at your hand. You know how intricate and complex that is? Do you know that Buckminster Fuller used to do this with his college classes? If you look at this, you can go ahead and look at your hand. 7 years from now, nothing that is there will be present. Every cell, every atom that currently now makes up your physical hand will be gone in 7 years. All brand new. What keeps it there? There's a pattern. There is a spiritual recognition. There is a truth in your physical body that keeps recreating? I know it's like, why can't I make mine younger? That's what I want to know. What is with this aging thing? But unity, you have to understand, we are a non-dualistic Christian tradition. We see all as one. And so love everybody? Yeah, we sure want to try to do that because God is present in every hand and every heart. I don't believe we always attain that, but that's what we're about. So when people try to tell you that, you go to that love everybody church, I say, well, we're trying. That is definitely our goal. So I want to talk a little bit more about worldview. Yesterday morning I had a little break and I watched Carrie Fisher's Wishful Drinking. Has anybody seen that? It's an HBO special. I'm a big fan of Carrie Fisher. She's not Princess Leia in that special, I'm telling you, but it's pretty funny. She did a one-woman Broadway show a few years ago and HBO filmed it. But in the show, she's talking about her family. And many of you may know that her mother was a movie star, Debbie Reynolds. Her father is a singer from New York, Eddie Fisher. They married. Well, then Eddie left Debbie for Elizabeth Taylor. So there's this whole chart of her family and how it's all. There are multiple marriages in almost every one of them and lots of addiction. It's really fun. You ought to watch it. But she talks about Hollywood, and the word she used a lot was tumultuous relationships. They left this one for that one and had a tumultuous relationship. Well, I've had a tumultuous relationship with reality, and I'd like to share a little bit of that with you. As I've come to understand this first principle that God is everywhere present, it was a journey for me to get here. I come from one of those families that was also suspicious of that love everybody stuff. The church I grew up in was definitely not a love everybody church. There was definitely some judgment, there was some exclusion. But as I come, even before church, what I really come to understand, my earliest concepts of reality was this. Don't do that. Stop. First thing I remember. Maybe even a little slap on the hand. Now, I understand my parents were protecting me. You have to do that. But my earliest concept of reality is don't do it wrong or you'll be punished. That's what I thought reality was. Don't do it wrong. You'll be punished. So as I got older, I had a strong understanding of good and bad, right and wrong, sin and salvation. And the religion I grew up in also had a very strong worldview in this dualistic separation kind of understanding. And so it made sense to me. And I want to say, I didn't say this in the first service, but I want to talk just briefly about this making sense thing. When we say sense, that means it's one of the 5 senses as we perceive it. If you go stand anywhere in the Great Plains of America, your senses will tell you that we live on a flat world. It makes sense. It's wrong. Some of the things I'm telling you today, it may not make sense to you. And I could be wrong. I have been a couple times. But I actually do believe that our teachings are correct in the way we view reality. Correct. I think that everything is partial, but I believe it is truth that I'm offering you today. But if you disagree with it, put it on the back burner. You may still find a lot of value in this community, may find a lot of value in this church. But I want you to know, I'm offering you the truth that I have come into not from a book, but from my lived experience. So when I got to unity, it made sense to my heart. Grew up with this strong idea of right and wrong. The religion I grew up in also had a very strong demonology. Meaning that there were evil spirits out to get you. And there were 2 levels to that. You could be oppressed or possessed. Now, possession was bad. We didn't talk much about that. But I was being oppressed by a lot of evil spirits growing up. I heard Joyce Meyer, the evangelical teacher, she talked about this one time. She said, how did she say it? She said, people are talking about all these demons oppressed, and then you got a spirit of gambling, you got a spirit of overeating. She's like, that's just the flesh, sugar. Get over it. But I had this very strong adversarial relationship with reality. I believed that Satan and his millions of demons were out to get me. And the religion I grew up in supported that view. I'm going to take a break from my story for a second to talk about the book of Romans in the New Testament, in the Christian Bible. The letter of Paul to the church in Rome. This is where the ideas in Christian theology of sin and salvation and atonement are really formed. It was in that one letter. So much of what we think is it's just, well, that's just the way it's always been in Christianity. Not so. It was in this book in the Bible, this letter, where all of this really got formed. I'm going to give you a little background of that. Paul, this was written about 60 years AD, so maybe 30 years after Jesus died. Paul, like many people, had been profoundly transformed by the teachings and the ministry of Jesus. When I read the words of Jesus, Jesus does not come from a dualistic, separate place. Jesus says, the kingdom of heaven is within. Jesus says, you are the light of the world. Jesus says, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father. No separation. I believe Jesus was a non-dualistic, mystical teacher of oneness in a dualistic world. But many people were transformed by Jesus' teachings, and they began to talk about it. They began to teach from Jesus' teachings. They would circulate the stories of when he stood on the mountain and he said this. He said, blessed are the poor in spirit. And they would share these stories, and then leaders rose up and they would write letters. And Paul was an evangelist. He was in Greece and he was having tremendous success sharing the stories of Jesus. But back in Rome, they were having some trouble. There were two groups there. There were the Jews and the non-Jews they were trying to live as Jesus taught them to live, and then the Jewish people were saying, but this is a Jewish thing. So you need to be circumcised for the men, you need to follow Jewish law, you need to keep kosher, you need to do this, because this is a Jewish thing. Jesus was Jewish. And the other guys were like, I don't think we need to do that. It's really not about that. It's not about religion. And so Paul, over in Greece, is like, I got to handle this. And so he comes up with a plan to bring unity to the early church and to define what it means to be Christian. When we talk about Christianity, what we're actually talking about is Paulinism. He is the one who created the religion. And most of it in that book of Romans. In Romans chapter 2, he says this. All who sin apart from the law also perish apart from the law. All who sin under the law will be judged by the law. For it is not those who hear the law who are righteous in God's sight, but in those who obey the law will be declared righteous. Now, in my Bible, in the New International Version, it puts this next part in parentheses. I don't know that in Greek they use parentheses, but this is the part I want you to really hear. He says this. Indeed, when Gentiles who do not have the law do by nature things required by the law, they are a law for themselves, even though they do not have the law. They show that the requirements of the law are written on their hearts. Back to my story. In my teens, I started to ask questions. What about hell? Really, all those people are going to hell? I asked my mom about this. My mom's a righteous woman, prayerful woman. She pointed me to that passage right there. She says, God wrote it on their hearts. Whether or not they had the law in front of them, they had it in their heart. And she said, I believe that's the way it works. That whether or not people hear about the story of Jesus and salvation, the law, it's on their hearts. That gave her peace around this idea. I want to say something about questioning, too. A friend of mine who is a member here at our church, he's from the Jehovah's Witness tradition, and also pretty strict in the way they view things, very suspicious of those love everybody churches. And anyway, he told me once he was talking to his mom about coming to Unity, and she wasn't too pleased, and he said, well, Mom, it's like this. I would rather have questions I can't answer than answers that I can't question. Yeah, is that good? And so I questioned a lot. And I describe this as the Michael Gott pull the thread on the sweater theology test. You ever had a sweater and you see a thread and you pull it? Sometimes it just snaps off. Sweater is fine, maybe a little pucker, but it's okay. Sweater is saved. You don't have that thread hanging off there. This is what my questions. I come up, I pull them, and okay. But this one question I came to was, how could a loving God send billions of souls, human, hapless people doing their best to make it in the world, making a lot of mistakes? How could God send billions of human souls to eternal damnation and punishment? And I went through like kind of the crunching the numbers as I was taught. In my religion, you had to be saved, but you also had to receive the confirmation of your salvation by the baptism of the Holy Spirit, evidenced by the speaking in tongues. So it was a tiny, tiny, tiny minority of all humanity that were going to heaven. And I was at my dorm room at Oral Roberts University. Yes, I have my degree from Oral Roberts University. And I thought, that can't be right. That does not feel like love. So I began to pull on that sweater, and the thread kept coming. And then some of the things that I had been taught about reality didn't make sense to my heart and my soul. And I was lost, because religion had been the anchor in my life. And so my 20s were a time of searching, and boy, I got in some trouble. Developed a nasty little vodka habit, and some other things were going on. It was just not a good time in my life. But I will tell you one thing that saved me. John Wesley, the founder of the Methodist Church, he had an experience reading the book of Romans. That was his salvation, his conversion experience. He said that his heart was strangely warmed as he read this letter. And John Wesley said this, the way we get information from God. He said, first is Scripture, second is church teaching, third is direct revelation of the Spirit. And I had tried to make sense of my life with Scripture, and the answers were not coming like they used to be. I tried to make sense of what the church was telling me. The church was telling me I was going to hell. It didn't make sense. So I just said to God, I said, God, you have to show me in my heart what is right. And it got really dark for a while. I was lost. And then I was singing in a little dingy bar in Dallas, Texas, and a New Thought minister came in looking for someone to sing at his church. And I came to that church in Dallas, Texas, and they began to teach me that God is everywhere present. It was a Love Everybody church. And something in me began to light up. Maybe there's another way. Maybe I didn't have to, as Ellen said in her book, throw out the baby with the bathwater. Maybe I could find a new relationship with God. Which brings me to the second of our principles. Come on, Gary. It's called We Are, the nature of our relationship with reality. We are spiritual beings created in God's image. The Spirit of God lives within each person. Therefore, all people are inherently good. This is where it gets tough. We believe God is everywhere present, including in everyone. Do we want to love everybody? Yes. Are we able to? No. But this is our calling. This is what we're about. The law is written on our hearts. There is something in us that knows God, that knows divine relationship, that knows joy, that knows love, that knows peace, that knows that there is something connecting us all. It's in our hearts. That church in Dallas really helped me. You know, there are 6 explanations that Ellen offers on possible understandings of why evil exists in the world. You can buy her book and you can read them if you want, but there's the third one that she mentions. It says that maybe we're just not grown up yet as a species. Children will get themselves into some tough situations if we don't watch them, you know? And I think maybe our species is still in our toddler stage. Maybe we're hurting ourselves a lot. There's a passage in Romans, chapter 8, verses 18 and 19, and I actually have this tattooed on my body. I'm not going to tell you where. Actually, verse 19 I do. Verse 18, it says this, I consider that our present sufferings are not worth comparing with the glory that will be revealed in us. This is where my tattoo starts. For the children of God, no, for creation waits in eager anticipation for the children of God to be revealed. Creation waits in eager anticipation for the children of God to be revealed. Are people showing up as the children of God all the time? No. Are they children of God? Yes. Yes. I wrote a song for our kids as they would come into the service, at the end of the service at our church in Dallas, and it goes like this. I see you in all your wonder and your radiance, and I know who you are. Yes, I know who you are. You're the light of God. think about what those who do violent and evil acts in the world, what they might be like if someone had sung that to them through their whole life. If someone just said, I see you. I know who you are. You may have forgotten who you are, but I know. Love everybody, it's hard. It's what we're called to do. That's why I become a minister, so I can stand here and say, I see you in all your wonder and your radiance, and I know who you are. Yes, I know who you are. You're the light of God. You. Yes, you. You're the light of God. Can you sing that with me? Very simple. You're the light of God. You're the light of God. Think about someone you're struggling with right now. You're the light of God. Think about tough things that are happening in the world, but know this truth. You're the light of God. Your family. You're the light of God. You are the light. You're the light of God. For yourself, when you fail, you're the light of God. That's what we are. You're the light of God. The creation waits in eager anticipation for the children of God to be revealed. I see you. I see you. I love you. God bless you.
See? I don't know about you. I see you. So let's have some special music. Grab a tissue.
Tough act to follow.
Okay, and for those of you who remember our wonderful Daryl, who was our musical director for many years, he hated this song. He hated it, and he also hated the first one we did.
Morning's broken.
Morning Has Broken.
Wouldn't have played it.
He didn't like that one either, so he very seldom did it. But Jamie and I like this song, and if you know it, just sing right along. It's just a fun song.
Okay, we're getting the right key here.
Wish I could do that to my voice. I'd like to build the world a home and furnish it with love. Grow apple trees and honey bees and snow white turtle doves. I'd like to teach the world to sing in perfect harmony. I'd like to hold it in my arms and keep it company. I'd like to see the world for once while standing hand in hand and hear them echo through the hills for peace throughout the land. That's the song I hear. Let the world sing today.
Very nice. Absolutely. That's the beauty of music. Not everybody likes every single song, but there's plenty to go
Do we
around.
get free Cokes?
That's what I was thinking, you know. There might be some somewhere. We'll have to work on that part, yeah. All right, so as you are preparing your tithes and love offerings today, think about how blessed you are. And as you are writing your check or giving your gift, send your blessings out. Okay. Who's got the offertory? We'll bring that up. And our chaplain today is Candace. All right, and together, I give willingly, joyfully, and lovingly, knowing that God is the constant source of my supply. I give with graciousness and receive with gratitude. Thank you. All right. Good news. Who's got good news? Somebody's got good news. Lynn's got good news. What's up, Lynn?
I finally, after all this time, got a new bed.
Yay!
And I had two wonderful neighbors that took it upstairs for me and set it up for me. That lived right over, like a couple of steps away from the car. They took it up, unwrapped it and everything, and all got set up. After all these years.
What a difference a good night's sleep can make, huh? Very important for your health, you know, is a good night's sleep. So that's wonderful. Anybody else? Any good news? Good news, good news. Yes, Miss Nora.
I got stuck with my grandchildren twice
Oh,
this week. Poor me.
Oh,
They had an option of going, staying home with their maternal grandfather or coming to my house. They wanted to come to my house because rumor has it that I might spoil them with food.
oh,
That's
geez.
right. You know, growing boys, food is a major factor in their lives.
Well, it was Popeyes, you know.
Oh, there you go.
Chicken, spicy chicken.
Grandma's good for spoiling them for treats that they may not get at home. So that's the job of a grandparent. We spoil them and send them home. Anybody else? Any good news? All right. Well, I think we just. What did you think of that talk? Oh,
I was just going to say that was one of the best talks I've heard.
Yeah, that was
wonderful.
wonderful.
Good. Good.
I wanna hear the other half,
Okay.
Yes.
or the rest.
The next. Okay. Very
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
Two.
We can do it in a.
Yeah, I think there's two more. When he mentioned he did the first two, and then okay. So I'll see what I can do about finding that
And he's
for our
pleasant, he's
next.
pleasant on the eyes.
Oh, isn't he? He's adorable.
Oh, yeah.
And that voice.
He's
Yeah,
cute.
not a problem watching, I'm thinking. Yeah, I didn't have a problem, so I figured, you know.
either.
I know,
The eyes
right?
and the
He's
ears.
adorable, so yeah, very good. Well, I wanted to make sure I'm on the right path, trying to bring to you folks what feeds you, and I felt that going back to the basics certainly couldn't hurt, especially with everything that we're working on. So good, I'm glad to hear you're happy with that. So just a reminder, Miss Candace is available today for your prayer support. So just let her know, and she'll be more than happy to pray with you. And we'll just get together and sing our peace song.
I know.
Oh,
Here we go.
We'll get this figured out here.
There be peace on earth,
And let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as creator, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
The light of God surrounds us.
The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.